If the liquidity pools are large and nobody has enough coins to move them, this can make a significant effect on that. And I think that Richard fancies HEX above all else.
Yeah.
And the reason we're getting what we're getting is because he wants HEX to succeed. Look, if the OA wanted to, HEX could be the universal conduit between chains, which means one HEX would always be one HEX. And this is very easy, and it costs the OA nothing. Costs the OA absolutely nothing. It's just providing liquidity with coins he already has. He sets up 10 billion and 10 billion HEX to PHEX, or EHEX, right? Nobody has enough coins to change that ratio from 2 to 1. Now, people are like, well, but that affects price. No, it doesn't, because we're not talking about USD value. We're talking about making a bridge between a coin on one chain and a coin on the other, allowing one HEX to always equal one HEX, which would allow you to not sell your HEX on Ethereum, but just move your HEX over to Pulse with never selling it. In fact, selling it would be stupid at that point, because you could trade it for the more valuable HEX on the other chain, whichever way that is, right? And what would that result in? That results in parity. Why? Because you're able to trade a silver coin for a gold coin. And as long as you're able to do that back and forth and nobody can change that ratio from 1 to 1, that creates parity, because you'd be able to go on the cheaper chain to buy it cheaper and then trade it for the more expensive one. To have that universal conduit between chains where one HEX is one HEX, no matter which chain. And now that didn't happen. That did not happen with the other forks. And people expect, well, that's not going to happen because it didn't happen with the other forks. Well, but those are not complete. Those were not built with full exchange value. Those did not have on-chain exchanges, except for, KyberSwap that sometimes works. So these were not expected. Richard made a few statements. One, I don't want to see cheap HEX on any chain.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you do that? Well, if you set up a 1-to-1 ratio, that forces parity. Two, that the liquidity pools are going to be extremely large on PulseX. It's going to be the most liquid of all exchanges. Now, why would you do that? Because HEX only works if HEX is the premium store value. And if liquidity chasers are making more liquidity, providing liquidity, then why would they want to stake their HEX? Well, how would you prevent that? Well, you would prevent that very simply by making the large pools large, so that anybody else adding to those pools gets diluted, and they're not making as much as they would have if they would have staked their HEX. Creating a parity of, or creating that conduit of 1-to-1 HEX, what else does that do? That allows the OA to remove HEX from both chains. Every time there is a transfer from one HEX to another HEX, that allows the OA to remove those HEX permanently from the market from both chains. He doesn't, and what else does that do? That preserves the Ethereum side, because you can always trade 1-to-1. So that keeps the Ethereum side or the Pulse side from crashing, because there's a balance between the two sides.
Yeah.
Because you have that universal conduit.